let's get on to the next session. We'll be led by Ashley Swartz. We've seen she's from Furious Minds, and like I said to someone else, she's a fire-breathing female dragon. And she's passionate also about interactivity, and that's what this session's about. It's people who live and die by inventing, creating, innovating, and interactivity, and they can't live without it. And that's why they're here. Thank you.
Hi. All right, last session. So you should be applauding for cocktails, not me, but applaud for me because it'll make me feel better. And all of our guests here. All right. So we're all here for a reason, and I just actually participated in a panel a little bit ago where I was to sort of be an antagonist, and unfortunately, that's not who I am, nor is it the people who are about to sort of chat for the next hour on behalf of where we are, why we're here, and where we're heading, which is the most exciting part of it. I think what is amazing is I've gone through a sequence of different channels. So I was in mobile about 12 years ago, and then I was in video games, and I built a dynamic in-video game ad network, and now I'm in television because I think television is the disruption. It's the emerging media of our time, which is pretty freaking amazing, and what a paradox and a juxtaposition. And what I think is so wonderful about this being the last session is that markets are made and things are changed radically through disruption. And it is through small entrepreneurial companies and incredible risk-taking storytellers that make new markets and create those disruptions. And so that is exactly who's here right now. And I'm privileged to be part of part of it and facilitating the conversation. So that being said, I'd like to kick it off. I'm going to sort of let everybody introduce themselves one by one, tell you what they're doing. Some are very creative geniuses over here on the left are going to actually show you what they're doing. And then I think we want to just have a conversation about where it's heading. So, John.
Great. Hi, I'm John Gillis. I'm Executive Vice President, General Manager of Coincident TV. I have a background in interactive TV. Produced my first two-screen experience in 1996, the site with Soledad O'Brien on MSNBC, and have been around for a lot of the cable set-top box interactive TV experiments. Coincident is a San Francisco-based technology company that has built a platform that allows content owners and content distributors to make, manage, and measure companion apps, both on single-screen and on two-screen environments.
Hi, I am Laurent Veil. I'm the founder of Visiware. So sorry about this slide that maybe some of you have seen already, but I founded the company very long time ago, about 16 years. So you see there are still some interactive companies in the market after 16 years. We started with interactive gaming. We became the world-leading company in that field with our game channels deployed in basically all digital networks in the world, like 70 countries. And from there, I'm more here talking about the Play-Along, which is the platform that we launched and worked for the last 2 years. We already have produced more actually than 700 shows in 10 countries with leading networks, produced 20 million games. So how it works, very quickly, you're watching a show, you have a second screen app, you play along. This is usually a free experience. This is the way we build it. But also we provide what we call the play anytime, which is the version of the game that you can play 24/7. And I want already to start saying here, we are making revenue out of it. We are not losing money. We are generating revenue for the full ecosystem, thanks to the Play Anytime revenue. I will be able to come back into this, but also starting to do a lot of ads, T-commerce, etc. So I want to say that not only this can be successful, but that can generate revenue for everybody. Up to a point, actually, that we now offer the play-along to producers because we know how to make money with it. I mean, this is the big networks we already launched. We are doing shows like The Money Drop, very successful in Europe, not as successful in the US. It was on Fox. We are going to launch Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, big thing for us, with the leading European channel, which name is ITV, big audience. And we are doing a lot of other stuff that maybe we discuss later on. Thanks.
I'm Peter Lowe. I'm the president and CEO of Sequence, and we've been around for 12 years, so not 16, but 12. And the good news there is we've made every mistake you can possibly make. And the good news is that it's all behind us. So Sequence has a platform that allows programmers and advertisers and cable distributors, satellite distributors to enhance their television content and their television ads with interactivity, and it allows them to do that dependably and affordably and consistently at scale across all platforms and devices.
Hi there, my name is Zane Villa. It's really exciting to be wearing one of these little microphones. I feel like I should be bursting into dance number or something. So if I jog around the stage...
You can get up and do Janet
does-
at any
it
time,
does
Zane.
feel
There are
like
no
it.
rules whatsoever.
It feels like that, so. And I look around and I see a lot of friends and people who've been doing this together for a long time. And so on one hand, I'm going to say the same thing I always say. And that at a certain point gets a little boring. But it's also a simple vision. And that's that every frame of film and television, right? Every single frame is packed with opportunity. Every single frame can connect out to something and someone out there on today's internet. And I think that all of the discussion of interactivity, the passion that I think a lot of people feel that, in sequences tools, obviously I don't know a lot about your company, but what VisiWare is doing, and John's personal work and with Coincident, it all really comes back down to this really simple idea that every frame is a window into some other experience. And it's because of the internet and the television coming together that makes that happen.
All right, my name is Joe Penna. I have a channel on YouTube called Mystery Guitar Man. I've got around 400 million hits on all my videos. My videos are 24 frames per second, so I've got 24 opportunities per second on my videos.
Exactly right.
Told you they were
Use them all.
entrepreneurial.
Use them all.
Yeah, so I do a lot of interactive videos on YouTube. I do things where I have a big audience on YouTube, so I can do things where I can send my stickers all around the world. I have people hide it, and then on their phones they give me the GPS coordinates of where they're hiding it, and then I put it all into Google Maps and say, go find these, and then hundreds of people are finding these stickers all around the world. I've done things where I randomly let people download every single one of the frames on my next video, and then they take a picture with it, and then so they're flashing behind it, 24 different people for every second that are flashing behind it, and the video is actually playing in this one piece of paper that they've printed. And I do some things using YouTube's annotations, and YouTube has recently also done a thing where the 1 through 9 buttons on the top of your keyboard actually take you to 10%, 20%, 30% of your video. So I've used that up a little bit, and so let me see if I can hop on there. Yeah, let's switch places. There we go. So this one, for example, is one where
With 2, 3, 4.
I blabbed a little bit in the beginning of it, and basically you can use the 2 and 3 and 4 keys on the keyboard to get to a specific part of the video where they're all different noises, and I look a little ridiculous, but you can actually make one beat out of this whole thing, and it's a little bit off because it doesn't work too well on Firefox. But anyways, here's another one that I've done. Basically,
Press the go button when you're ready.
You can hit the go button, and a little teeny version, this is all in 3D if you're wearing the glasses, and a little 3D version of me goes along, and you're supposed to click them, or you can try again. And if you click them, this is all using YouTube annotations. If you click them at just the right time, he actually punches him. So it's actually a duck hunt kind of style video game. And if you don't get it, for example, I won't get it on purpose here. I laugh at you for doing it, and yeah. So then at the end, you can go to my YouTube channel and you can share it out and things like that. So yeah, that's the kind of interactivity that I'm doing on YouTube. So that's it.
Hi.
Pardon me.
My name is Yoni Bloch. I'm originally from Israel, as you might tell from my accent. And I'm actually in Israel. I'm actually a relatively well-known singer. I have 3
Wait,
albums.
I thought it was a gold record.
2 gold albums.
2 gold. I'm sorry.
Out of 3.
Okay.
But 2 gold album, like a gold album in Israel is only 20,000
You
copies.
didn't have to tell them that, Yoni. Yeah, but that could have remained our secret.
It's a very small
Right.
country, you know. But I was also a judge on the Israeli version of American Idol. So just saying all this, so you know that if you were like 14-year-old Israeli girls, you would be pretty excited now.
I'm pretty excited. So.
Just to set the ground, you know. Me and my band are all computer geeks, and we started this project about 2 years ago. And I'll show you 2 small pieces. I promised it will be short. And what we wanted to do is an interactive music video. And what was important about it, because it was music, was that it had to be completely seamless. Because music, unlike anything else, can't tell you to make a choice and then wait for you to make that choice and go ahead. We had to do something that the choices and all the interactivity will be part of the video. So this was the first video we did. It took much more time than we thought to develop it. Because to deliver this in seamlessness, he wants to dance. As you can see, this is me in better days. And this video starts just like any other video. There's a party. But as we approach the second verse, there's 2 people coming to this party. This guy and this girl. And let's say I click on the girl, I give her the headphones. Now we follow her completely seamlessly. She also joins the singing. And he's gone to a completely different room and different things happen to him. But to see them, you have to play it again, which was my idea. You know, I wanted people to play it over and over so the song will be stuck in their head. Now she's flirting with this guy while he's kissing his girlfriend. That's very common in Tel Aviv parties. I'll go with the girl again. And now we follow her. Now, though this was shot all in one night, both in English and in Hebrew, there's 256 different combinations you can play this video. You see this girl running, you could get to her. Every person you see in the video, you can get to their story in different ways. Here we can choose, for example, between Christmas and Hanukkah. I'll go Hanukkah. By the way, she was supposed to take off her shirt and be really wild, but you know, Hanukkah. How wild can that be? All the choices are being made seamlessly. So if you don't make a choice, it makes a choice for you, either randomly or the director's cut or the most popular choice. And there's another layer for it, I'll talk about it later. Now you can choose a completely musical choice if the next chords will be electric or acoustic. So I go acoustic. They pick up acoustic instruments and play it acoustically, so we also change the song. Now the next choice I let you choose if you want. We can have more than 2 choices. It can be as many choices as you want. And now we have 4 choices. Who from the band will play the solo? Would you like? Take a try. He's, by the way, the VP product and he's the lead developer. Now each one has his own solo and his own dance, completely different. And you can go through the different versions. And now I promised I'll do it quickly, so the only other thing I wanted to show is, doesn't matter. One of the earliest things we wanted to do with it, part of the idea is that because you make the choices in real time, in the end of the video you can share that version on Facebook or Twitter or YouTube or anywhere, and people can see that as your version. So when we released that song in Israel, what was really nice about it is that I saw people share it and say, like, did you hear the new Yoni Bloch song? And somebody else said, yeah, but not the way I did. And it was great to see that level of personalization, though no matter what choice they make, they will feel they were part of the creation, and I'm completely okay with it. This is just something that we did to show like the high customization you can make with those videos and the personalization, and in a completely seamless fashion. And this is a tool that you can create songs for people. And John, right? Yes. So I put an eye on you from the first second I sat here. And I'm gonna dedicate this to you. So you start the video. and you choose if it's going to be a love song or a breakup song, I'm going to choose a love song because I like you.
I like you too.
This guy starts to sing about love, and I can choose if I want to sing about your eyes, your hair, or your body.
Hair.
Body? Got it. Now there's different choices. But he's already singing about your body. I will say petite, just not to get into any trouble.
Thank you.
And he sings directly for you. And then we can actually choose who this song is dedicated to. And this is for me to you.
That's great. So we're all going to step out and give Yanni and Jod a moment, because I think that's what's coming next. So I think just to sort of get things started, what is amazing and so inspiring to me is that everything we're doing, even though there's sort of an opportunist side of it, of the sort of financial side of how we make money, this is fueled by the love of creativity. The reality is that we're making whatever we build better, right? So television better, or the web better, because content is available and it's much more immersive. And I want to go back to yesterday. I went to the Beyond 30-Second research study, and this is sort of the point of origin with which I want to study, because Zane made a great comment about bringing the internet and television together. And the Beyond 30-Second study that Dwayne presented yesterday, which is Disney and a bunch of brands, was that they did about a snapshot, it's about 2006, as to what interactivity was acceptable for audiences on television. And then they said, okay, what would advertisers pay for? And fast forward to about 5 years later, whereas 6 years ago, they were sort of at the opposite corners of what was a quadrant of a BCG matrix. 6 years later, they're sort of one and the same. And the reason for that is that sort of the cognitive behaviors around interacting with content have really started and been seeded with the internet and interactive video. And now that has sort of afforded us a world of opportunities on television, how that translates to a larger screen in a living room, which is a hell of a lot sexier to play on. So I would sort of love to start, Laurent, I think a legacy of 16 years and that you can wave the flag of profitability is kudos to you, right? Because I think that is, you're blazing a lot of trails there. And I guess what I would love to understand is, what has your challenge been between the balance of sort of driving towards revenue and making experiences and storytelling better as a complement to what's happening on that screen? How have you managed that balance?
Yeah, I think that one thing that we didn't address enough during those 2 days is really the user experience. We talked a lot about datas and revenues, etc. I mean, they're obviously important, but they are not important if you haven't succeeded driving a strong and good game experience. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm saying game experience, but it's a good thing. I mean, gamification is very important. So yes, check-in, okay. Retweeting, okay, but this is not what's going to drive the audience and create the loyalty. When we have Who Wants to Be a Millionaire or the Money Drop, this is pretty incredible because the audience is rising from the very beginning of the show, and they remains up to the very end. I was expecting, a curve like this, right? But every day we are producing shows in many countries. Every day we have the exact same curve, because when you are playing Who Wants to Be a Millionaire as if you're on stage, this is just a very fun experience. This is just fun. Because when you're watching a game show, for instance, who never said, "Oh, I know that. Oh, I wish I was there to answer," right? And as Harris mentioned earlier, not only you can participate as if you're on stage, it's thrilling, it's nice, it's exciting, but also we are providing real stats back. So we're saying that women are faster than men. We are saying that John right now in Paris is the best one. You have leaderboards. You can see your Facebook friends. You can challenge them, etc. So I don't want to be too long. I just want to say that first of all, it has to be a good experience. And thanks to dual screens, for example, right now we have the technology finally for interactive TV to provide a great experience. And then everything else will come on.
So, John and Peter, I'm sort of going to extend this to both of you. I would love to understand in the partnerships that you've had with big, networks, broadcasters, and content creators in some respects. How are they? Is this daunting? Is it scary? I mean, where is the level of involvement? Because to me, it seems that if you just light up these second screens or these experiences as an afterthought, whereas it's not part of the creative process, we're going to fall short. So how is that balance? How are you finding that as far as deploying across multiple screens, but yet telling a better story and leveraging the power of each screen in a different way?
So I actually think you just nailed it, which is these guys are the ones that are going to make it happen. And I'm saying that because, and I'll only speak for myself and, where we think in sequences in the ecosystem, but, we're building the tools and the capabilities for people like you to exploit on television. And, and when you do that, when you pick up these tools and capabilities, then we will all have experienced the home run that that we all expect to happen over the next 5 years or whatever it is. But we're not in the creative business, and we would never pretend to be in the creative business. And we have huge faith in the people that are way more creative than us to figure out actually how to exploit all of this. So Ashley, I think what's happening, and it's actually a really compelling thing that's happening, because we're just getting now past the point where early experimentation is behind us. So that one of the key considerations that comes up now when we talk to programming networks, for example, is, oh boy, this stuff it's really potentially awesome. We love it, but in order to make it effective, we have to really commit creative resources to this,
right.
So we need to really kind of think through how we're going to deploy those creative resources and where we're going to prioritize. And then I think a piece of that is really incumbent on us to help them figure out is now to build tools into our capability that makes those decisions easier for the creatives as they begin to exploit it.
John, you've done some great things. If you talk to maybe some of your Glee work,
Well, just to address your question first, I think there's been some real challenges in working with big media companies, because there are interests inside these big media companies that are very resistant to change and want to preserve the old business models as long as possible. And so it generally takes somebody who's a maverick inside the organization to actually embrace some of these new platforms. So it's, to be quite honest, it's been quite difficult, especially through the set-top box era of interactive television. Fortunately, I think the rise of new platforms with the internet and mobile have really helped catalyze change, and there are a lot of creative people, and for instance, Hardy Tankersley at Fox has been willing to take some risks. I think another challenge is generally we're not always putting these tools in the hands of creatives. Oftentimes it's put in the hands of marketers who can, in their own right, be very creative and do very creative things. But I think until we actually move upstream to put the creation tools in the hand of creatives and take it out of the hands of developers, coders, and to some extent marketers, we won't see the full fruition of the promise of interactivity.
Well, that's interesting because it lends itself to the introduction of Tracy and her sister and IP. And IP is something we haven't talked a lot about, right? And the fact that IP law hasn't caught up with technology, that's an issue. And, when you talk about IP, it's what, you gentlemen have chosen an arena where you own what you create and you own the fruits of your labor, right? Television is a little bit different. So you have the dynamic of how many rights the production company retains versus the network and et cetera. So I think that also creates a lot of challenges. Zane, I'm going to go back to your what you said when you teed it up, which is sort of every frame is a window of a story, right? Or a rabbit hole of sort of experience. What's where's the sort of the middle ground of, do we have an idea of the appetite or the ability of an audience to sort of, when it's too much, right? And for a storyteller, 'cause that seems part of it, is that if we're creating tools to make storytelling and content more interactive, then we don't, I believe I heard at the corner of my ear, one of the quotes from the last panel was, there are no best cases, right? There are no proof points yet, because we don't sort of have critical mass. So how are you managing that?
So I think in a perfect world, the best interface is no interface, right? It's the best interface is no interface. It's the video itself. It's the creative. It's the emotional arc and the impulse of the moment that makes you want to do something. And that interface, you know, the creation, the video itself, might actually have things like fists and triggers or overlays, but it's really where these things are thought of as one. I love, this is one of the reasons why I adore Tracy so much, right? It's connecting to the inspiration of actually what, you know, brings people together to keep driving through these ideas, right? It's a room full of pioneers. I agree with Peter. It's like the future is in the hands of the people who have access to ubiquitous platforms, who can experiment, who can make mistakes, who can innovate, right? Who can play with things and see what's cool. It's that very natural process. The first edits in film were mistakes. First time anyone invented the idea of a cut in film was because a camera jammed, and someone looked at that and realized, like, wow, that's a cool way to tell a story in this visual medium. We need to experiment, and we need to make mistakes, and I think that I couldn't ask for a better follow-up to the idea of every frame. You know, look at what people are doing with annotations on YouTube. There's nothing really there, and it's ugly. I mean, it's really ugly.
It really is.
It's really, it's like, and it's awkward, and it's poorly documented, and people do incredible things. And so I think it really is about this kind of ubiquitous access, experimentation, and mistakes. And through that, we'll figure out what creates inherently interactive work,
Right.
where it's not an add-on.
Can I challenge something that you said earlier, which is that we don't have proof points?
Please.
So I actually think we do have proof. I think we have proof points. I think we've done enough of this that we know directionally where the business is moving. I think what we don't have is a robust ecosystem of interactivity, right? So, and here's what I mean by proof points. You know, probably collectively, you know, around this room, we've done hundreds, if not thousands, of interactive television experiences. And the results of those experiences tend to be very positive, and they tend to be very consistent. And they tend to grow as the viewer gets more and more exposure to these experiences, right? So it's not like an early adopter syndrome. It seems to be kind of the opposite. And so I think the one thing that we know with an underexposed technology, you know, without the creative brilliance that these guys can bring to the table, consumers use it and like it. And they use it in big numbers, and whenever we talk to them about how they feel about it, they like it.
Yeah, and Peter, I think you're absolutely right. I think when I say we don't have proof points, I mean, you know, when we sort of talk about the density of interactivity, right? And that was my frame point of, you know, you have what percentage of TV buys now have an interactive element, right? And, you know, so when ACR is enabled and that becomes more commonplace in the vernacular of buying television, what's too much, like that threshold?
I think the answer there is that we should view these as affordances to interact, not obligations to interact. And that's where some of these experiences go really wrong, is when you're obligating the viewer to interact with something or other. You must vote in a poll, you must participate in this chat. That's the wrong way to think about it. You can create affordances to interact, but also allow people to just sit back and watch passively. So there often is too much and can be too much, and I think we need to stop looking at these as obligations and more as opportunities.
Well, and it's also, I mean, I think there's a balance too, because it's between storytelling and sort of knowing human behavior, right? So go back to the report, the Beyond the 30 Seconds from yesterday. One of the other bits of research was that sort of what type of interactivity do audiences choose, you know, in which do they choose to engage? And the higher the investment, right? So meaning not just expressing an opinion, but sort of testing their knowledge, right? Moving up the food chain of sort of the level of engagement. Not only they spend more time, but the opt-in numbers were greater, right? So it's just sort of, I think, paying attention to your audience. And I mean, I think that's what, Yanni and Joe, you guys have done well. I also think, you're bestowed a medium that you have creative control, right? But I guess I sort of want to challenge you guys to ask, there is a legacy of an industry of television and entertainment that has survived, and will continue to survive and thrive in different ways. But what have you taken away, both as what to do and has made you better and more successful, and what not to do from sort of traditional, television and entertainment as we know it?
Actually, do you care about traditional television?
I just got rid of Comcast. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean,
No, but I do because it has taught me that the first thing that you should really pay attention to is telling a good story. It doesn't matter if you're on YouTube, it doesn't matter if you're on your own website, it doesn't matter if you're on wherever you are. If you're telling a good story, something that somebody can really connect to, then yes, or either that, or like for his video, for example, you can watch it just passively and then it makes a choice for you, right? Or you can go in and interact. And I think that's something I swear it's not
That
me.
was me, I'm sorry.
It's something that is new and exciting about the internet world, where on YouTube you can go in there and click an annotation. So there are plenty of like choose your own story adventures. Like, should he go into the store or should he not go into the door? So should he answer the call or should he walk away? And then the story develops in that way, and it gets people watching a whole lot more. And I think it's all really dependent on the technology that's out there. For example, YouTube annotations are awful. There's no way to export them. There's no way to import them. There's no way to do them outside. For example, that video of mine doesn't work on Firefox, the human drum machine, So, but there are companies out there that are doing like way better things with interactivity. For example, HBO Go has the side panel that you can click and it pauses the video. You can watch the thing and then it goes away. A lot of these set-top boxes are doing things like that with interactivity, even in the remote control. Where we're slowly changing things,
Well, and that's interesting. So Yanni, that was a great lead into to what you're doing, because you guys are sort of this, generation of, you're digital natives, right? You don't have a visa or a passport. You are a native. So I think that's interesting because, Yanni, what you did is said, okay, I want to tell a story in a different way, and I don't necessarily have the tools to do that, so I'm going to create them. And that has to be an incredible sort of sense of empowerment as to what your palette is as an artist going forward.
It is, and there's also, it depends on the industry. For example, we did get an investment from Sequoia, which is an old school VC that, invested in Apple, but can understand that. I think the biggest problem in the TV industry is legacy, is trying to make it work on current set-top boxes, for example, and things like that. And then people have so many burdens. They have to, so many, it needs to work on so many things. They can't think from a clean slate. And sometimes amazing stuff, even YouTube annotations, for example, you take a limitation and you make great stuff from that. That's art, and that's amazing. But I think that what's special about what we've done in the end is the fact that it's a combination of, we're all computer geeks, but we come from the creative world. So we've been able, when we saw that it doesn't exist, we programmed it on our own, and we've created our own platform. And the idea now is that people need to think about when they create a story. Like he said, so if you just create a story and you say, and now he'll go left or go right, that's not necessarily interesting. But if you create a story from the beginning, thinking about this as a new medium, as a real interactive medium, it's not a computer game exactly. It has something in between watching something passively and watching something actively. And we've been, for example, we've been doing all kinds of projects with film universities. We've also been working with NBC or Fox, and we've so amazing ideas from creative people and the writers. It's something you ate. But the thing is that
hummus.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is that people come up with beautiful, stories that I would have never thought of. That just because they are young and they think differently about the whole creative and storytelling experience, which is the first opportunity to actually have a real new medium and not an enhancement. And I'm not saying that, as you said, HBO Go, for example, is amazing. It's an enhancement of amazing television that you get more, and that's great. That needs to exist, and it's...
But I'm gonna challenge you there for a second. So I had the privilege of working with Ridley and Tony Scott for about a year on what was their first sort of digital media endeavor. And you know, I'm a geek, and I've got the privilege to hang out with, and I was in the same room I set up the meeting where Ridley came in and showed the Apple commercial to the Google YouTube team about 4 years ago, right? I mean, it was the pixelation in the reel, you know, was old school, but still everybody was in awe when the hammer came down. And so I actually think that good storytelling is good storytelling. I think that technology is an extension of the palette, right? And you brought up a good point, which was sort of a revelation I had after the last panel I participated in earlier today, is that what I realized is we have this chasm right now. And you know, we have this chasm of sort of a legacy, right? Where there's billions of dollars of, you know, investment, spent, sunk costs. And what we're doing now, and a lot of folks, the conversation is around, okay, how do you derive more value from that? How do you keep squeezing ROI from that rock? And then you sort of have, you know, this catalyst where you don't have legacy, and legacy is also baggage, right? You're not, you know, there's not a big cost of entry for you to go out and start creating in the mediums in which you are thriving today. How do we marry those worlds? And I think, you know, I think you guys could actually contribute a lot to that, because in some respects, you have legacy, I mean, Peter and Laurent in particular, but you've embraced, right, where the paradigm of sort of the pleasure of experience today
maybe
and found
compromised.
opportunity.
I just want to say something quickly
I think
about...
compromised is a better word than embraced, actually. Because ultimately, I think his point is that it's a new medium, right? It's actually about recognizing digital video as an entirely new medium for communication. While it looks the same, if you sit back at it, it looks the same as television does. Digital video connected to a two-way network is a completely different medium with inherent possibilities unique to it that actually don't map on to traditional mechanisms very nicely at all. And so what Peter and I have, in a sense, done, I think I can lump us in that barrel, is compromised. Is found ways that the digital medium peeks through a tiny bit. Like the inherent digital medium peeks through the traditional linear signal, just with a little tiny taste.
I just want to say, because what you said, I thought about the same thing. A few months ago, my girlfriend made me go to see The Artist. And I didn't want to. It was silent, and I didn't understand why is she doing it. And when I finished the movie, I understood something. It's an incredible, I love the movie. And what was incredible about it, just like what you do, for example, is that they took the limitation of something that is already over, and made a movie that you enjoy. And that's a medium that already died, but the movie is also talking about that, but like radio that didn't die, for example. When there's a new medium, there's no reason to kill the previous medium. I don't think any other of their linear storytelling is going anywhere, and I don't think it should. I love those movies and TV shows, and that's important and everything. But as he said, currently what happens is that the TV shows and all the interactive experiences are just enhancement, and they're usually also very focused on advertising and not on storytelling. And the thought that comes from behind all those things is coming from those things that you would have gone to after that they would get color film, and everything still will be black and white, but you'll have advertisement on the side in color.
Yeah.
That's the feel that there is today. The interactiveness is all about you can click on that to buy it, or you can do... No, I want something that is actually in the story, something that I would actually be interesting storytelling.
It's authenticity, right?
Yeah.
There's a very pragmatic answer to your point, which is everybody's going after the advertising world because that's where the money is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, also...
Money sucks.
I heard somebody.
I'm a
wrote you
musician,
check,
I-
though, named Sequoia, so it must not suck that bad, Yanni.
Touche.
Well, it's also a matter of whether or not the interactivity helps the story. For example, like you were talking about the artists, right? If you're at the movie theater, you're sitting back, and then all of a sudden they're like, all right, pick the next thing that happens, and like a bunch of little pads pop up. You know, like, does he set his apartment on fire or not? So, oh, no. Everyone will pick no, you know? But like, if it's a matter of, you know, if you're in a movie theater, you're not going to want the interactivity there. But if it helps the story in any way, which, you know, of course, lends itself to be more online or on set-top boxes and things like that, then sure, you can add it to the story.
Yeah, just really quick, from a university that we worked with on film, and somebody wrote a script that, just like he said, a good choice was a guy and a girl in bed, and it's like he looks very tense and she looks very comfortable, and you see a shot of his hand going up her knee, and again he's sweating, she's okay and everything, and then when his hand is here, you choose, is everything gonna be okay or is he gonna be surprised? I love that. That's a good story twist that I would watch twice. Just wanted to say that.
With the same ending or different?
Oh, that's there's different endings there, but I'll send you the script afterwards.
Peter, both of you and Laurent.
I was going to talk about this difference in the legacy technology and the future technology and how to bridge them. So we are convinced that they're bridgeable, and we're convinced because, I mean, they are ultimately technologies that either allow you to tell a story better on television programming, or they allow you to be a more engaging advertiser. And the difference in our minds is how robust that technology is, right? So if you are using IP technology, so if you're using mobile technology or connected TV technology, you can do a lot more in terms of how compelling you can make that product. But if you're using set-top box technology, you can also do a lot. You're just, you're right, it was bad lunch. You just need to compensate for what each components of the platforms that you're dealing with are.
Yeah. Laurent?
Yeah, I'm very enthusiastic actually, because it's maybe me.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we're talking something very important, creativity plus technology that can bring together, new things, new format, etc. Let's do a little history. 15 years ago, cable and satellites, first screen, interactive TV, never really took off. I mean, we, as a company, we launched 50,000 interactive TV apps on I think 30 networks. So I know what I'm talking about. It didn't took off because, technology speaking, it is a mess. Every single operator have a different middleware, different conditional access, different return paths, etc. So we didn't reach a critical mass, right? Except gaming and few applications, it is difficult for creative people to make money with their work, right? Okay. Then 10 years ago, IPTV networks, little better. We have a return path, great. Little better. 5 years ago, connected TV, still a mess. I mean, it's still many numbers of middlewares, plus a bunch of free apps in it. Nobody make money. I don't think it will take off. Except if Apple TV is making things big, and then it will drive the whole market. Now we have the second screen, and the story is completely different. So we are at phase one. Phase one is we are bringing an interactive layer to existing shows. This is what we are doing with all these shows. But I really want to move to phase two as soon as possible. And phase two is creating new generation of shows thanks to what the interactivity nowadays can bring. Everybody now is watching TV, the smartphone, the iPads, and etc. Right? We have to invent new shows, and this will happen. We are working on this, new shows that will not exist without the play along, and that's very important.
So, John, I know you want to say something. I want to ask you a question as well that I would like you to answer in addition to your comment. So, this is something I thought about before the panel. In advertising, when we talk about the second screen and social TV, I use the phrase the digital water cooler, right? So, TV was about going to work the next day, and you talk about what you saw last night around the water cooler, and now you're doing it in real time while you're watching. So, I would love, based on your experience, for you to, do people want to interact with content, or do they want more to interact around content? And if it's both, is that sort of separation and difference so much so that it's going to be hard to get critical mass in either?
Well, so first of all, I wanted to comment on some of the comments here, which is that I think it's a really exciting time right now to be involved with interactive media, because I think that most of the exciting developments and most of the growth are actually still in front of us. We've kind of reached this moment of singularity where everything is out there on the cloud and has a URL and can be accessed from within one of these devices. It opens up a world of possibility, and this is a very new thing. So to answer your question directly, I think that what we've seen is that while social elements are really important, people want to talk in real time about the media, what's actually the killer app is television. And it's been said a few times here today. What people want to do when they're interacting with a piece of content is actually get more content related to that content. It's a very simple utility, but the ability to get additional content when you're engaged with a piece of content, whether that is a song or how this piece of content was made or another episode from the same franchise, is really what we're seeing is the thing that people want to do. So I don't think it undoes the water cooler effect. You go to work the next day, you're still going to talk about American Idol or whatever show it is you choose to watch. But we're seeing that the ability to integrate additional content elements within the story is what's really the killer app.
So that begs a really interesting question, from my lens, coming from sort of the advertising brand space, and we talk about, call the spade a spade. A lot of the expectation is that this will eventually be paid for by advertising. And, Joe, we talked about your relationships with brands. So does this sort of require that in this new world of interactivity, does it require that for brands to really be successful, they have to themselves also become better storytellers?
Yes, absolutely.
And how do we help them do that? Because that's not technology.
No, that's
recognize digital as
storytelling.
an entirely different medium and exploit the things that are unique to the digital medium, and don't try and shoehorn traditional television into a digital platform.
But how do we do that? Because that's why I left an agency 4 weeks ago, because I'm not sure the agency can do that. And they're the
I think they can do it.
intermediary.
Because I've worked with a lot of agencies, I've worked with a lot of brands direct, and I always love working directly with the brands, a little bit better than the agencies, because the agencies are kind of like stuck in this, like, no, you have to do this, and then like we know what's better for you to do, but like, no, you don't. Like I read all of my comments. I read every single tweet that someone tweets at me. I know my audience better. So if you have like some kind of iPhone app or something like that, I know the best way to promote it. I think what is missing that they have to do that they don't want to do is to give up a little bit of their control, which is no one wants to do that. But if they give up a little bit of control to the creatives. I'm biased a little bit, but then that's where you're going to get the best content. That's where you're going to get the most organic content. I hate using that word, but organic content, and people are going to interact with it a little bit more.
I don't think I'm saying anything that would be surprising to anyone in this room, but it's not really about impressions anymore. It's about engagement, and driving engagement really requires you to be able to tell a story, not to just jam an image in someone's face and expect them to make a purchasing decision.
Well, and see the challenge, we were at an advertising conference, the challenge with that is that engagement means so many different things, right? So, and then it becomes a spectrum of sort of subjectivity that, is it passive? Is it active engagement? And how do you value it? And I think one of the biggest issues, so that's an even better point, is that part of this is just an issue of lexicon, right? We all sort of speak a different language. The guys that buy TV and the guys that sell TV speak a different language. And, do we talk about connected television, interactive television in the purest sense that it's ACR enabled within that OEM hardware? Is that the language of the internet? What do we use?
The reason I think, from what I'm seeing, and I'm like a real computer geek. I had an internet account when I was 8. It was 1989, and I really grew up in that space. And it amazed me, and now I understand it much more. When it was before the internet and internet advertisement, it was very comfortable for everybody to do advertisement because there was the rating system, and there was the feeling of buzz of a commercial doing successful or not, but there were no real metrics other than that. You could only feel if a commercial is working or not. The metrics were very much, a question in the air. Today, everything is completely measurable. I know exactly when somebody uses our videos, I know exactly what is it doing in every second. Like, what does he click? Does he click? But then I see, and I thought about it because when we started using this commercially with clients and I needed to give them engagement stats, and I looked at other engagement stats, views on YouTube. YouTube refreshes the page every few minutes and counts it as another view. So if you keep your YouTube page open, that can be 100 views.
So let me get this.
Am I going to be shot tonight?
And I bet you're selling on page views. Is that right?
No. That's what I found out. No, I was like selling good numbers. Like I was so thought, well, my numbers are good, and then I saw amazing numbers, and then I saw that it's more than the population. So how can that be? And then I started understanding that this is a weird mechanism because advertising people. Something about advertisement is an interesting, collection of things. It's art because you need to tell a story to sell a brand, but it's very commercial because there's a brand there, and it's also a lie. And in the end, those things in the internet become very, very twisted. Because engagement, for example, we have a pre-roll unit that we sell, which we sell per engagement. And engagement on our platform is very easy. It's if somebody makes a choice. If it doesn't, no. If it does, yes. And then we went to an agency and they told us, oh, we have a CPE. If the mouse is hovering around the video, that's an engagement. So if I move my mouse to click stop, I engage with the video. Is that fair? It's so weird. And they say, yeah, that's okay. Yeah, the client's happy, we're happy, and everybody's happy. And then move aside. So there's a big challenge to do here, and I think advertisers are in a very difficult spot. They now can count everything, and that's very difficult. That's very scary. Even I'm scared of it.
I think it's different though because views are getting less and less important, especially on YouTube, where they've changed their algorithm even to not listen to views as much and listen if somebody's clicking the like button, if somebody's commenting, and that's always way more important than views.
Well, and it's interesting because one of the biggest issues is what is a like worth? What's a comment worth? What's an
20
engagement
cents.
worth?
Yeah, I think what we're seeing across the board, and I think it's probably true of all the guys here, is that the effect of adding all this contextual interactivity is actually increasing the amount of time people spend with a piece of content, whether it's an ad or a TV show. And that's one way to look at it is how people choose to spend their time, because time is limited. And the effect of that is they're actually consuming more video and more media around any of these brands when they're engaged. So I really look at how people choose to spend that finite resource of their own time.
Right. Well,
Just there are two angles to say it, how the second screen, what the second screen brings to the TV and what the TV brings to the second screen. So I'm just going to discuss on one. We have a very interesting number from a company called Médiamétrie, which is the French Nielsen. And they calculated the audience with and without our play along on the On-Demand show Money Drop. And 28% more TV audience with the play along.
yeah.
So I'm not saying here that it's 100% thanks to the play along, etc.
Right.
But somewhere, there is the other side of the metrics.
So we have to close because we have a award show, which I hope that everyone will stay on for. I want to wrap sort of with a thought. One of the quips that I've said for a while is that nobody's ever going to get fired for buying a 30-second spot. And at the end of the day, that's because I think sight, sound, and motion is what wins, right? It captivates. And we're here because television has afforded us, in combination with technology, all great opportunity. And we've had some we've had some debates, and there's confrontation, and there's old versus new, and legacy versus emerging. I just want to say that I think what is great about this show, and I give Tracy kudos and her team, is that we're all here because the reality is we're vested in one another's success. and grateful for those that are pioneering and blazing trails, and for those that have found ways to make that compromise so that the old can come somewhere in the middle to meet the new. So I look forward to seeing you all in the fall in New York, and thank you. I really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Ashley, that was, I don't think I could have said that better myself. Thanks for the thanks, I appreciate it, but I want to get to the awards. That was really well spoken. Thank you, everyone, for a really great session. Thanks, Joe. Thank you.